Hello, my name's Amy and welcome back to the channel. I thought today I would do a bit of a catch up, a chat about what I have been working on recently, and crucially tell you about my plans for Preptober and NaNoWriMo. So first up, a very quick check-in about September. I have not been very active on YouTube recently, and that is despite actually filming quite a lot of footage in September. When I looked back at it though, it felt very disjointed. I didn't really know what I wanted to say with it, and I ended up scrapping quite a lot of it. So as we go into the autumn and Preptober and NaNoWriMo, we are kind of starting over, and hence this update. September for me was all about restoring my routines. We'd come out of a very busy summer period and the school holidays, and once my daughter was back at school, I slowly started to get back into the rhythm of writing again. Now, it did take a few weeks. Even when work settled down and the bad weather kind of stopped quite a lot of work on the barn, I still felt it was quite difficult to get back into the swing of writing. I kind of felt guilty quite a lot, like I should be doing something else, even when there was physically nothing else to do. But towards the end of September, I definitely did find some kind of rhythm again. I have really upped the hours I'm spending on my writing at the moment, and that means that finally the Goldstone Tower is done. Now, I documented quite a lot of the writing process of this book and less of the editing process, but still some of it. I have spent the last couple of weeks doing my very final proofread and check of the book. I have now formatted it and sent an early copy to my newsletter, and the final release date will be sometime around the end of next week. It has taken overall something like 7 months to complete this book, which I actually know is very good going, but it felt during the editing process particularly that it took much longer than it should have done. On the plus side, I'm very happy with this book. In terms of some of the character work, it is a step up from previous books I've written before. This particular series has had a very tumultuous history, including having a second book that was only briefly on sale for a couple of months before I took it down. The Goldstone Tower is the replacement second book, and honestly at this point I'm less concerned with what readers think about it. Obviously, I do want them to like it, but the big thing for me is that I feel really satisfied with this book. It takes the series in the direction I wanted it to go in. I think, as I said, the character work is really good. The pacing is pretty tight, and I think on a sentence level, this book contains some of the best writing I've ever done. It's now up to readers to decide whether they like it or not, but I am very happy with the finished product. But what comes next? Now, I have very handily just finished this book in time for the majority of Preptober, and I have got so many different books to prep. I have a tentative publishing schedule for the next 18 months, which includes 3 more books. One wraps up a trilogy, one is the third book in a series, and one starts a brand new series. Ideally, I would like the first 2 of those to come out before the new series kicks off. We will see whether that actually happens. I do sometimes get ahead of myself with these things. But my plan really for October is to get as much outlining done as possible. Now, one of my last couple of vlogs was about outlining using the snowflake method. The book I was outlining there is an epic fantasy called Project Immortals. That is the book that is the start of a new series. I have about 30,000 words written of it already. The outline is not finished, so that is one of the things I will be working on this October. I went back to it a couple of weeks ago and did some more work on secondary character arcs, and that really allowed me to see some of the bigger plot holes in the rest of the book. Doing the villain arcs particularly let me see that, as usual, I have issues with character motivations and arcs, and just making sure everything makes logical sense. The outline is really helping me pull everything together, and I'm really hoping that even if the first draft needs lots of editing, as it probably will, that it will have fewer plot holes than my usual first drafts. And I have 2 other books to outline. One is the third book in my Eidolon division, science fiction thriller series. This book has been a long time coming. I think I've mentioned it more than once this year and I still haven't started on it. These books take a lot of brain power and I have realised that I need to go back and reread the first two books in the series before I go anywhere near the third. I would love to do that in October. I don't know if I'm going to get time. I might just make some notes for this one and come back to the outline closer to Christmas. And there is one more book I could work on, which is the follow-up to the Goldstone Tower. I don't expect this to release until next summer, but I do have quite a strong idea of where the story is going, and the rest of the series arc, in fact, is relatively well planned out. So there is a chance I will work on the outline for that as well this October. It would be quite useful to do that while my head is still fresh from the second book, so that I can carry over some character arcs and plot points. These books stand reasonably well alone, but not completely. There is definitely an arc across the series. And actually the third book is one I have been looking forward to writing for a while. It has some really cool world building in it and some quite dark and creepy set pieces that I think could be really fun to write. Actually, just talking about that now makes me want to dive into it right now. It would be the perfect thing to be outlining and writing at this time of year. But as I said before, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I really have other things I should finish first. Project Immortals is the priority, to finish that outline first, then the outline for the science fiction, and then we will see how much time is left over in the rest of October. I will say I don't actually know which of these books I'm going to draft for NaNoWriMo. The sensible option would probably be the science fiction because that has been in the works for the longest, and because the series is already started, there are readers who are waiting for the third book. But because I need to reread the first two books and because the outline is not even started, I don't know if I will get that finished this month. So there is a fairly high chance I will actually be drafting Project Immortals because that is a draft that is already started. Whatever I decide, I'm actually really excited to take part in NaNoWriMo this year. It is at least 2 years since I last did it. Last year I was editing and releasing a book. I have a feeling I didn't take part the year before either. Possibly I was editing again, but I'm feeling really excited about getting back into drafting because it has been far too many months since I last wrote something new. And I'm also looking forward to getting back to some proper blogs again. My brain has been very scattered over the last few months, and that has just been a consequence of life being busy and my daughter being at home a lot over the summer. But I have lots of autumnal exploration of the local area planned. I've got loads and loads of writing to do, and I can't wait to dive into it all. So if you are doing NaNoWriMo this year, I would love to hear about it. Please let me know in the comments what you're working on, how your Preptober is going, what plans you are working on, and thank you very much for being here. I know my upload schedule has been very spotty over the last few months, but I am still here and I have every intention of vlogging the process of starting my next book very soon. So until then, keep writing everyone, and I'll see you next time. It appears that I was talking so long that my fire has gone out. Welcome to the reality of tiny home living.